gets. Define yourself. I like that. Define yourself. Like how how does one define themselves? I'm curious to what your guys' perspectives are.
I'll go into that because well, I believe you were going to ask this question, and I think that if I was going to tell myself anything when I was like getting out of college, I'd say like define success for yourself. Like is what is your definition of a successful life or a successful you? For me, it I only realized after college that it wasn't, climbing the corporate ladder. I wasn't aspirational to be my bosses at J&J. For as much as I love and respect them, um, until now I still, admire them and where they are. But I didn't want to be the director of marketing. You know what I mean? And I realized what I wanted was to tell stories. What I wanted was to talk about sports and find those perspectives, not just from an analyzed standpoint, but from, telling stories of racism, telling stories of sexism. I found that here. And then I realized that success for me wasn't money. Success for me wasn't those things. And so I could be satisfied not making as much money as the next person, not being entrepreneurial as the next person. And I was okay with that. But at the same time, if what success is for you is getting married at 25 or having your own company or climbing up the corporate ladder, by all means, because if you can define what it is for you, then you can be satisfied with where you are. I really think that if you're that's the question we have to ask ourselves. I have friends who are like, my 20s, I have to take it super seriously because this, and it's fine. Like if that to you is what's going to get you to where you want to be, then do it. But I also have friends who are like, my 20s are to make mistakes. My 20s are to figure out what I really want to do. And if that's what's okay with you, then that's fine also. It's just a matter of, again, going at your own pace and defining what is good for you.
Gets how, like I feel like a lot of people, like, first they lose sight of the fact that everyone has their own individual measure of success, but also they don't know how to get there. Like they don't know how to figure out what their measure of success is. Like that's something I myself struggle with. So I'm curious to know what was your process like. Was it something that you kind of always knew that, since you did a lot of I guess sports journalism work back in college? Yes, yeah. What was the process like to
Yeah.
define what success was, and not only professionally, I think, but in terms of life goals, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's always just an ongoing process. I wouldn't say that I'm, particularly sure about it at this point.
Right.
You'll never know. But you have to look at your motivations and what drives you at every step of your
Mhm.
journey. I realized while I was in college that parang I'm not as motivated to do this marketing project as like the rest of my group mates, or parang I'm not as interested in this, but I was interested in, writing. I was interested in talking about sports, and I could tell that there was a bit of difference between me and the average ME student, and that was fine. But I only really manifested it because at work, when I realized also that I wasn't aspirational to be who my boss was. When they promoted me at J&J, I was like, do I really want this? And but it was a long process. I still went to ME, so obviously I didn't know it in high school. I could have taken comm or journalism. I still went to J&J, so obviously I didn't know it after college. So it's really a learning process, specifically in the Philippines, where they don't tell you like go do this or go do that. It's like, oh, go take the best course or go take the one that's going to make you money. So I'd say the probably in this long monologue that I'm going on, the biggest thing to take from that is um learn what motivates you through every process that you have, through every journey that you take. What where are you in a state of flow? Where are you like I could write a piece with Kirby that's 32,000 characters, like 12,000 words, and do it for 12 hours and not care. But if I had to like do um accounting for 2 hours, I'd lose my mind, and that's when I kind of maybe this ain't it. And those are the little things you have to take as you go through your journey, work, school. Remember, try to look back at school. What motivated you? And then you'll figure it out. You don't, you'll figure it out.
Yeah, but I think, calls, what stands out to me about what you said is, parang you really have to hold on to your passions. I mean, it sounds so cliche. But, I mean, that's kind of all you have, like, as a compass for work. Because right now, like, the babu, I mean, I'm similar to you, I guess. Like, we're all big sports fans, but we've all also worked in corporate, even if it's not exactly, like, the dream career that we might have as of now. But one thing I really appreciated then is na, like, yeah, I have all of these interests, personally, but sometimes parang it's still so distant to me at this point. Na I'd love to be in the position that so and so is, but I also don't know how to get there. So I'm curious also, like, what was your thought process like, leaving the stability of a steady corporate job to pursue, something that's at this point, there's still a lot of risks involved, I'm sure. So yeah, like, how did you kind of get yourself to that point?
Well, I'll start by saying, like, the passions thing, like, you know, my main passion is like music, but it's not what I could do because I was realistic enough to understand that this wasn't going to be it. So it's kind of just like mixing what's realistic and what your passion is, and that for me ended up ultimately leading me to this, like, the 95% passion, because it was still pragmatic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My thought process, like I said, it was starting on realizing first that it was a calculated risk, in a sense na, could I afford it? Where can I see myself? I'm not the type of person who looks into things as like a set plan, but I'm a type of person who looks into things as, if I do this step, what is A, B, C, D, E possibility? And is in A, B, C, D, and E, can I survive? Or will I be able to, like, can I survive and will I be happy or be able to be satisfied at the end of the day? Kevin Durant actually said in his interview with Draymond Green, he's like, it's not really about happiness anymore. It's like you're trying to find peace and simply enjoy being alive. And I that's what I kind of go on with, like, can I find peace on A, B, C, D, E? And for me, it was like, okay, if I go to the States, will I be able to be okay living here? Will I be able to be okay with a job that makes 6 figures, obviously, but will I be able to be okay if I had to grind and work $30,000 a year, $40,000 a year? Yeah, I'm fine with that. So it was really more of that, like, checking all the possibilities and then making sure that I would be okay with it regardless of what happened. Again, I don't know because I'm not there yet if that's what's going to happen, but it's that in itself, that thought process makes it a more calculated risk, I'd say.
So really taking a calculated